It's actually 3 a.m. Yeah, well, a lot of us have seen this coming for some time about you will own nothing. You will own nothing. I just wanted to give you a little bit of a heads up on some things. Obviously, most people already know about it, but all this, I've talked about this, I've mentioned this before in the past, about the cloud-based software, about the fact that eventually all our computers will be basically become nothing more than terminals. If you don't know what a terminal is, that's an old term used for an interface, so that all your data is no longer stored locally, so that all your data is no longer yours, even though it's your data. It ends up on a cloud, which is another server somewhere in a remote country somewhere, and then you've got to pay for access. So over the last few years, I noticed a slow what's the word, inclination or progression towards devices. You buy these webcams or these security cameras, and you go into the app and it says connect to cloud, create an account on a cloud server or something. I refuse to do that, and even if the equipment stops working, I'd rather not use it than have my data on a cloud somewhere, because that you give up your rights, you'll give up your personal rights to that data. So you end up with a situation where you might have security footage that's to do with your home, to do with your life, that's on someone else's server, and they can do with it whatever they want, and you might not even have the right to delete it if you choose to. Now, the problem with this is not a new thing. All of this is just becoming more in your face. It's just becoming more prevalent. But if you go back in time and look at how everything has been constructed from the very beginning, even to do with the energy supplies, the generating power stations, you go way back to Nikola Tesla and all that. Nikola Tesla had some brilliant ideas for producing free energy, but he was suppressed, he was prevented, he was isolated and discriminated against, and he was isolated, and basically he made his life a misery. And other great inventors also had some wonderful ideas about liberating us and making us more energy efficient, I think is the word. Anyway, the problem is we have always been in this situation, but it's just becoming much more globalized now. It's becoming more centralized. When I say centralized, and I've mentioned about the big fish and the little fish and all that, a lot of people don't know what that means. Well, that is when you have, say, 20, 30 similar businesses all working on the same kind of thing, and they talk about competition being good to keep prices down. But at the same time, that is creating a situation of poverty for these businesses, and it creates this bubble where they're all basically on borderline, struggling to survive, so that eventually a big fish can come along, which is a big corporation, and buys them all up. And that's what we're seeing. We're actually seeing that happen now, and we're seeing much fewer competition, because a lot of little businesses are actually going bankrupt. And everyone can see that. I mean, that's not something that's just appeared out of nowhere. It's happening, but not everyone notices it because we might be too busy distracted by social media and other things which are completely irrelevant to what's really about to hit the fan. Like, you know, what's the shit is hitting the fan, as they say. So I've just been watching a video from Rossman. I tend not to watch all of his stuff because, to be honest with you, his judgment to me is a little bit erroneous, I suppose. I think he would admit it himself. He's made a lot of mistakes, but then most people do. We all make mistakes, but it seems like he's just realised what's happening. But I've known about this for some time, about what's going on with Amazon and all that. But so anyways, it's not just them. It's any company that wants you to create an account on a cloud-based server and is bad, really, because you're selling out your personal control of your life to a third entity or another entity that's external to who you are. And this whole talk, we hear it more and more now about you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. Well, no. There's not a lot of people who think who are like me, for example. I mean, I'm a researcher. I like to invent. I like to create. All my life, it's been a dream to discover something. It's always been a fascination to try to understand the mysteries of the universe, or the mysteries of just daily living and how machines work. That is the biggest thing with me, is how do machines work. And I've always had this fascination about building things which actually you can't buy. So, for example, if I can buy it, and if I can afford it, and it's not too expensive, and it's something I need, then I will buy it. But I'm not going to buy something that's basically holding me to ransom, which is what is happening now. Because if it's cloud-based, or you have to have an account, you have to pay somebody else to use it, then it means you don't own it. It means that you do not own it, because you're being held to ransom. So anyway, I'm rambling a bit, I know, sorry. But what I'm saying is, generally speaking, if you can't buy it and you can't own it, I'm always fascinated about making things which I can use when I need to use them. Tools. We talk about tools, whether it be generators or a solar power control or something that's useful to you, but you just don't want to use it all the time. So anything that might help you live your life, whether it's gardening or something. But I don't have a garden anymore. I used to have one when we were living at a different place. But there's things that you just like to use occasionally, and then you throw them in the cupboard and forget about them for a few months, and then you think, oh, and then one day, oh, I need that thing. I need it for something, like my Geiger counter. I might never need it. But I mean, I'm not going to show you what I mean. But where is it? Well, back in the 1980s, we had all this scaremongering about nuclear war and all that. Is it on beep? We all had this talk about a nuclear war and everything, right? And there was a lot of panicking and worry that there was going to be some big event happening. So there was Maplin Electronics, which is who made this, Maplin. This is a kit, by the way. It was disassembled. It was all in bits when I received it, and I had to put it together myself. And I've had this since the 1980s, and it cost £100 to make it. I had to save up my money at the time. I can't remember actually. I think I had some money from a relative dying. I think it was my grandma maybe. But anyway, so I've had this ever since then, and it sits in the cupboard. It just sits in the cupboard doing nothing. But you never know. Someday I might need it. I mean, background radiation at the moment is nothing, right? It's just beeping once every so often, right? But there are things that we need, tools that we need. Now, if you don't own anything, then it means that you are you become at the mercy of the big corporations, and nobody wants to be in that insecure situation of looking up to somebody else to help you with out of a dilemma, right? So, am I radioactive? No. So anyway, I'll show you what I mean about this, because this does pick up radiation from radon and other stuff. Actually, my dad's watch is radioactive. Let me just go and get that, because I think, well, my late father who passed away, let me just go and find it, if I can find it. I don't know where it is, just a minute. It's in here, because they have these luminous, they have luminous hands, you know what I mean? Right, I found it. So this was my dad's watch. She used it in the Navy, and he passed away in 2017. And they have luminous hands on them. Just shine my torch at it. See it? Glowing. Just charge it with my torch. Right, luminous paint, luminous. So that's radon actually. So I'll show you what I mean. They're actually radioactive. See? Did you know that? You do now. So anyway, I'm getting off topic here. I'll save my battery. I might need it. You never know. The one about this early warning system. I turned it off, by the way. So they were giving this, government was doing this early warning test. Now, why are they doing that? Because in the UK, we don't have earthquakes, generally speaking. We don't have planes falling out of the sky. We don't have tornadoes. We don't have major disasters like they do in some countries. The only explanation is that they know they have plans. They have plans. They know what's coming, but they don't tell us. Now, this is what I mean. This is the problem with lack of transparency. They don't tell the people what the people deserve to know. So there's something about to happen, and they want an early warning system in place because it's either going to be a nuclear war, God forbid, or it's going to be an asteroid that's going to heading towards us, or it's going to... But you know, I'm not scared of it because I'm at an age anyway. Well, I really don't give a shit anymore. I mean, I'm a spiritual person. I believe in the afterlife, and I'm quite happy to go up there and into a spiritual realm. And some people say, well, you might go down there. No, there's the spirit world is a creation of your consciousness. It's actually it's your vibration. You take it with you. It's like a manifestation of your own mindset. So everyone's got their own heaven, basically, right? Have you ever watched that TV show? What is it? Supernatural, that one, yeah? Well, that was a pretty good analogy of it. They had all these different rooms, and each room there was a person in it who passed away, and it was their own private heaven, and they had their own... That's basically the way I see it. I mean, so if you're a really bad person and you expect bad things and you do bad things to other people, then you might end up in a place that's basically like hell. So, but it's your own private hell. You created it in the first place. So if you do bad things in this world, then you're going to expect to have bad things done to you in the spiritual world. I mean, it's just the way it is. It's a mirror. You know, there's a lot of symbology in our life. Loads and loads of symbology about the mirror, the reflection, and when you look in the mirror, you see reflection of yourself. There was that one where Mark Hamill, is it Mark Hamill, looks in a mirror and he sees he has to fight his demon or something. That test, what was it? Was it Star Wars? I think it was. Was it? Maybe Star Wars, maybe not. But anyway, it was something, I can't think of the title now. But it was where he had, it was Star Wars, it was where he had to fight the Darth Vader. It was a mirror image, and he was fighting his own demons, and it was, Yoda said something, I can't remember exactly what he said now, but he said, it's a reflection of your deepest, darkest fears, or something. And that is basically what it is. I mean, the spiritual world is like that. I mean, if you fear something, you're going to encounter it. And if you have to let go of the fear. You just let go of it, and everything will be fine. So, no more worries. Anyway, I'm getting off track here. I'm just sidetracking here. But the point I'm trying to make about is if everyone subscribes to this cloud-based stuff, and if they put all their eggs in one basket, and you end up being held to ransom because you can't afford to pay for it, then you're getting what you asked for, basically. So I mean, you just got to say no. You know, go back. A lot of people are actually I see a lot of YouTube channels where people are collecting old engines and old cars and old... Why are they doing that? It's because they know as well, deep down in their soul, that something is going to happen, and all this modern tech is going to hold you to ransom. I mean, it's going to turn itself off and it won't run anymore. And mechanical cars, the old-fashioned cars that don't have a circuit board in them, they're immune to nuclear EMPs, electromagnetic pulse. They're immune to that. The old basic car and the old basic engine, diesels are immune to EMPs. There's a lot of technology that is immune to that. But if there's ever a war or something, forget your phone. It won't work anymore. It'll be completely nuked. Completely. Excuse me. It'll be completely destroyed, basically. But why did I get this thing? Well, it was the 1980s, and you have to remember something. I was quite young back then, and I was like many people back then, with fear and all that. But I've changed a lot since then. But I've still got it. I mean, it's around if I need it. I mean, if I ever see it do that, I know we're in trouble. Right, except for when I'm holding the watch against it. Obviously, it made me a little bit paranoid about this watch, because my dad used to wear this thing on his wrist for many years, and so it's giving off radiation. So it kind of makes me want to stick this thing in a lead box. But yeah, the winder's broken on it. I need to get that sorted. It's stuck on. I can turn the hands around on it, but the winder's broken, so I can't wind it up anymore. Don't know how to sort that out. Oh, see, the winder just come out, look. My dad has had it fixed that many times. Oh, it's winding now. Look. Oh, it was just ticking. Hang on, I can wind it now. Cool. Can't set the time though. I'm so glad it's ticking. Oh, it's just getting next to my ear and it's radioactive. I'm just listening to the back of it. I think the radiation is lower at the back than the front. Let's find out. Yeah, look, the back of it is not very radioactive, but the front, the front is very, very radioactive. So yeah, so it's a question of people choosing to go along with that or not, because if you want to own nothing and you want to end up with a situation where all this green stuff, it's just a con to control us really. But a lot of people are falling for it, because you see, if it was really true, then there are countries like China who would also be following that example, and they're not. They're just making more coal. They're making more coal power stations. They're completely ignoring all of the green propaganda, which is obviously what it is. But some people say, well, it's because they just don't care and we can't prosecute them. No, if there was really something seriously going to happen to the world, then you would have thought that China, that was just becoming the most powerful country, they would be following the rules too, but they're not. So no, it's just bringing the rest of the world to its knees right now, and it's very sad, really, that people can't see that. But anyway, the search for free energy continues, and I am trying. I drew up another. You remember I was talking about this thing? I was talking about building this thing to do with an alt-Nico, switching polarity to and switching the magnets, and to create a rotor to turn. It got me thinking as well about that, and I was working on another idea, solid state idea, to basically similar to my previous solid state MEG, motionless electromagnetic generator, and but using a bridge system of twisting the magnetic field to rotate the field at angles from left to right by using some magnets on each side with an Alnico, which will collapse the field on one side and also the other side, create a circuit so that it's trapped in a loop. Then the magnetic field from the other side would come in at an angle through a collection coil in the middle. Obviously this would be above here as well, but I run out of paper, so I thought, well, so this is a secondary coil in the middle, and it's across the bridge, and I was going to rotate the field. So I was working on this idea out in my head, and I drew it out because it makes it easy to visualize it. So I called it the virtual magnetic field motion, what was it, transformer. It's backwards on my phone, the writing's backwards. I can't read it backwards. Sometimes I can read stuff backwards, not all the time. Depends if it's obvious what it is. So I am constantly looking at ideas because I really want to get that idea that comes into my head that blows me away, and I think that's going to work. But I haven't built that yet because I'm thinking that's very similar to what I already tried with that thing I've got in the bedroom on the shelf that I showed you the other day. And I thought, well, yeah, I really want to. I might make a jig actually. I could make a 3D printed jig to basically drop steel bars in and a coil and do some static testing on that just to see if it actually works. I'm thinking about it. I am thinking about that. I might actually do that, but I'll have to model it and that. So I've just been, there's such a lot of stuff going on in the world right now, and it's just I mean, if you want to get inside my head, it's difficult because I'm the kind of person that there's not many people that think the way I do about things. And I mean, I suppose there's inventors, and we tend to be in our own little world. We tend to get into our own little mechanical, technical type world and of creation and thinking about things and all this, and we just want to cut ourselves off from everything around us, and we just want to live in a bubble basically, and that's kind of where I am most of the time. And the world outside to me is just too noisy. There's too much arguing going on. There's too much competition. I'd call it duality and bitching, and people always lack of trust with each other and all that, and paranoia, and yeah, I haven't got time for all that. That is not the way I think, and it's alien to me. And people always judge me wrongly though. People always judge me wrongly. They think I'm something else that I'm not, and I can't be dealing with it. I'm not even going to stand there and argue with them. There's no point. They've already made up their mind, a lot of them, and just let them get on with it. That's where I am. I just say, well, if you want to get on with that and you want to think that way, you go ahead. I just don't want anything to do with it. I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to talk to you. But you're going to get that. You get it all the time. Every time you walk into a shop, you can see you're being judged. You're being weighed up. You're being categorized, you're being classified, you're being, it happens to everybody, and it's, yeah. Me, I just take things at face value, and I'll just talk to people in a generic sort of polite manner, and but I often don't get that back. So, not always. Sometimes I'll do, but then I get a bit paranoid myself, and I'm thinking, what are they after, like? But this is the problem with the outside world. It's very paranoid. It's like we're in this goldfish bowl, and I think you understand what I was saying. So anyway, I'm just happy to build my stuff. That's all I want to do. But the trouble is, at the moment, money's tight, and so I've got to be careful I don't start investing my time and money into a project which is it's going to be another dead end, because I don't want any more dead ends. I want to get something that works, and if I do, I'll share it with you. I mean, that's the way I am. So anyway, have fun. We'll talk to you another time. So I'll stick a link in the end screen or in the description about what Lewis Rossman was just talking about. Yeah. See you later, alligator.